guys, welcome to another lovely
Hello.
night.
I'm ready.
And
Yes, sir.
our
I
here.
just pulled up to your gate.
Okay. Well, listen.
We are we are tuned in tonight, guys, on another great show of the Soulful Real Talk, and we have a great panel of people tonight. And this is kind of like a sequel to the previous The Ugly Truth about separation of black men and black women. And we know how that separation started. Now we're wanting to get into the dialogue of what is needing to be done when it comes to our community, and because our kids are in trouble.
Uh,
I had an event today that
Master Button.
seriously had me. You hear me, Mr. Clements?
Push the button. Hold on. I ain't got it
Mr. Clemens has technical difficulties with with. I'm gonna let him continue doing that right there. So hold on.
right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick him out for just a little bit. Let him come back in a little bit later. All right. Sorry, guys. But yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, please smash that like button. Go ahead and get that algorithm going pretty good. If you're on Facebook, please share because unfortunately, I can't share on Facebook like I want to. Facebook does not like me. But as I was saying before, this is a continuation of us trying to bridge the gap on our homes in the Black community. And I'm going to play a video, ladies, after you introduce yourself briefly, because even though you are such welcoming guests, there's always someone out there that needs a coach and a pooch snatched. So, so yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Oh, me. Oh, hey, y'all. I am Janice. I am the founder and owner of the Plush Lab. I offer aesthetic services. What that means is I work on your beautiful skin. I wax everything from the rooter to the tutor. You can that is, but it's a relaxing environment. It's super clean. Yeah, definitely come check me out on at the Plush Lab.
She is so funny. That she does, y'all. She snatch.
Oh, I do jokes too.
Hey, everybody. I am Coach Tashawn, your certified relationship coach. Thank you again, Lauren, for having me back. As always, I'm super excited and ready for this discussion.
All right. So, we talked about the men and the women, and last time, like I was stating, and this is kind of the men and women again, but it's in the angle of our kids. So, I sent you guys the PowerPoint, but I want to play this video first. And so, when you're answering or us going over the points and whatnot, I want you to kind of come at it after listening to this video, because I think this video is kind of profound. And I had found it a while ago. It came across in my TikTok, which had me open up the conversation that we had last time in the other thing, because the dynamic between us and the community, it is so messed up. It's off balance. It's toxic. And I'm not saying that there are not great parents or single Black parents out there that are doing the best that they can do, but we can do better. We can do better. So let me go ahead and play this.
Smiley coming up. So in my house, with my mom, it was always everything was up for discussion. Everything was up for discussion because my mama, she a real understanding person. So it was literally a conversation I had growing up with me. I'm a real knowledgeable person. I like to know a lot of stuff. So so the way I would come across and say things, she'll be like, I know you not coming from a standpoint of you trying to be disrespectful to people, but some people don't understand you how I understand you, so you might have to correct yourself. So I literally had a conversation with my mom. I was like, okay, I'm finna tell you stuff and stop me when I get disrespectful. I express my feelings, but that don't happen with everybody. And so when I was standing up here and you guys were like, don't belittle your children, but the whole statement of you're not on my level sounds like belittlement to us. It's saying you don't have as much value as me. You're not as important to me. You don't put up what I put up, so you can't have a say so in what we do. You don't pay bills. You don't own this house. You don't pay for nothing. So and it's
that's good.
And it.
Go ahead.
And when you bring up the stuff that you do for your children, it makes us feel like a burden. It makes us feel like I can't wait till I grow up so I don't have to be a burden to you anymore. If you say it's like when people be like your parents had a life before you, it makes you feel like I made you so miserable and bitter and like I just don't want to be here anymore because you don't want me to be here anymore. So why should I be here and put my best foot forward if the person who gave birth to me and made me come in this life doesn't want me? How am I supposed to look at somebody else for love if I feel like I'm not getting love at home? What do you do when you want to have somebody to talk to, but they like you can't talk to them? You go to somebody else to talk to, and that's not who you want us to talk to. How am I supposed to come and talk to you, and you don't listen to me, but somebody else may listen to me, but they not gonna treat me how you want me to be treated? You love me, but you don't show it. But they don't love me, but they act like they love me. So I'm going to go to the person that acts like they love me and not the person who... I'm going to go to the person who acts like they love me. Because when you grow up like this and you grow up with people who emotionally stunt your growth, you go looking for other people when you're insecure. You go looking for other people for sex, for people who going to tell you, oh, you're pretty. That's why the first person to tell you you're pretty, I'm glad my mama never, they say your parent and your family is your first bully, point out every insecurity you have, and then you want your kids to feel beautiful and smart and go to school with people who telling them the same thing you tell them. That's not going to work. You can't want to be your children's love and shelter, but you're not that. That's materialistic things. If God was only materialistic to you, you will feel hurt. You need to have your spirit be healed. You need to have your spirit be fed. It's okay to have clothes and shoes and all this stuff, but what about my spirit? What about my emotions? What about my mental state? You can't be, you look pretty on the outside. You got me nice shoes. You got me nice things, but I'm struggling on the inside. Some people want to commit suicide, but they look good on the outside. Y'all focus on the outside so much that you don't take the time. You say you listen to your children, but 9 times out of 10, you're not really listening because we don't feel safe. You say you create a safe space, but that's 9 times out of 10 is not true. Because even though my parents never hit me or they never threatened to hit me, they words hurt even worse. When you telling me, you never say you disappointed in me, but your body language show it all. You look at me like I'm just like you can't believe how you raised this. Some people say it to their kids, I can't believe I raised somebody like this. Well, if you raised me so beautifully that you shared you is, how come I ended up like this? It's a lot of things that go into having a kid, and some people end up resenting their kids when they have them too young or they have them with the wrong person. Some people just realize that sometimes it's too late to recognize the trauma, because when you get older and I don't have to spend time with you, how often do you see me? When I don't have to live with you no more, how often do you see me? When I have some people get jobs, some people hang out with friends' house because they don't want to go home, and you refuse to recognize that you yourself have caused your child's trauma, whether you want to admit it or not. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
All right. So before we jump into this PowerPoint, again, I just wanted to play that video because this is the second stage of why I feel that the dialogue between us in the Black community, the mom, the dad, the aunt, the uncle, the grandma, the granddad, the brother, the sister, the female and the male cousin, the dialogue between Black men and Black women is horrible at the moment right now, and is deadly, is dreadful for me. And again, I speak not to all, because I know, again, there are homes where kids are loved and that blueprint is there, but it's just not shown and a lot. And in my instance, where I'm at, and I know Tashawn, you hit me on that previous show where you saw it more than I did. And is I don't know if it's just here. I can't say it's just in Albany because I'm pretty sure it's everywhere. It's just my roots and my family is on both sides. Definitely my dad's side. It's so, and there's so much animosity and so much hate, and like basically what she was saying. And so I want to dive into this. I want to bust this wide open because I look at these two beautiful specimen of a Black female and a Black male, and just the demeanor is, there's distance, and it's the reason why I meshed these two pictures together. That hurt, that I can't talk to you, you're not going to understand me. You know, we have been taught that women don't know men and men don't know women. And so when are we going to stop allowing society to tell us what we should know and just turn around and say, hey, let me get to know you? So the first thing is very well needed. Number one, a safe space for open and honest communication. And the little girl stated having a safe space. Mr. Clements, how do you think a man and a woman in a home, not even with kids yet, but just establishing that foundation, what are ways that we can open up a safe space between the two?
Are you asking the space between a man or woman, or
Yes, sir.
with the child?
Yeah. What would you think?
Well, first I was thinking about the scripture that says, "With all you're getting, get understanding," and you cannot have a good relationship until you develop the discipline of listening. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes we do a lot more talking than listening.
Right.
And we draw wrong conclusions and assumptions because we don't listen. But I think the foundation of any relationship as it relates to communication, aside from listening, is, and I define it as this: love is choosing to understand. I'm gonna say it again for the people in the front, the middle, and the back. Love is choosing to understand. No matter what you think about the situation, it is about me trying to see it from your point of view. There's a book that is called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus by Dr. John Gray. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, but he wrote an excellent work. And one of the things that he said that was so powerful, he said, we got to remember our differences. This is talking about understanding each other. We got to remember that we are different. Men are different from women. Women are different from men. And this is the mistake that he says, and I'm gonna try my best to hush. He says this. He said, men mistakenly expect women to think, communicate, and react the way men do. And then he said that women mistakenly think that men should respond and think, communicate the way women do. And so that was the whole concept of that thing, is that when we choose to understand the woman's love language and the women's understand the men's love language, and we choose to understand, say, oh, so that's how you see that. Oh, that's where you're coming from. For example, I'm gonna give you an example. If sometimes my wife, she'll say something and she get all upset and she just mad about the day and so forth. Something. She's not like that all the time, but I'm saying she have her days. And then now I could say this from a man's perspective. I could say, what's the matter with you, woman? Uh-oh. What's the matter with you? Now, I can say that, or I can say this. So, honey, what's troubling you, my dear? I'm saying the same thing, but the different result. Why? Because the latter was better because I chose to understand. I understand that my wife has feelings. She's not a robot, whereas that she don't have feelings. Because guess what? My wife has the gift of clap back. Do you hear me? I got a clap back in my spirit. So, but I had to learn that, and that takes patience. It's not easy to listen, and it's not easy to understand. But here's the thing, it can be done, even though it's difficult, but it can be done. You just got to be aware and be willing to be vulnerable just to listen. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I try not to go off that far, but
yeah. Oh, no. Miss Coach Deshawn, what about you?
To piggyback off of Mr. Clements said, the listening and hearing part, hearing is easier for most people. Hearing is that passive action. I'm reading from my notes, but it is that passive action, whereas listening is an active action, right? And so for most families, and I will speak from my own experiences growing up, and even until now, our communication was not good. And it wasn't bad. It was just that we did not communicate. We grew up in a silent household. And what I mean by silent, my father was in the military, as I shared before. So our house was quiet. So we didn't do a lot of talking or whatnot. And both sides of my families, honestly, my dad and my mom's side, we're all quiet people. So when it's time for us to communicate, we either, if we're angry, we're going to communicate that. If we're happy, we're going to communicate that, but it's not as verbal as if we were angry. So in terms, to make a long story short, in terms of growing, as we grew, my siblings, I remember telling my siblings, I said, we don't know how to communicate with each other. Yeah. So we're like high strung. When we get mad, we're mad and we go for the kill. Honestly, we would go for that throat, without hearing each other, right? I mean, without listening to each other. We can hear everybody. We're hearing everybody fuss. What? So what we end up doing over the years, these past few years, and I have to shout out my family. We've been making some progress,
Great.
Because we actually had to start saying, listen, something is off. We're not hearing each other. Everybody's saying the same thing, but it's coming out in in different ways and whatnot. And so I would say that safe space, you have to, in order to create that safe space, everyone that's participating has to be willing to say, there's something wrong with our communication. Where did it stem from? You may not know, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're able to find out where it comes from, then you can say, okay, well, you know what? Mother and granddaddy them used to communicate like this. Well, let's see what we can do, differently. You don't want to spend a lot of time on that. What you want to do is move forward in your actions. So you try to say, okay, let's see what we can do that will fit us. going to Oprah or Ilyana may not fit us. You know what I'm saying? But so we have to find something that will fit our personalities and fit where we are. So for the Colliers, we had to find out that our communication, we started off texting, and we have a group message, and we were able to start communicating effectively through our text messages versus getting on the phone, yada da 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 da, right? And we were giving each other, it's 5 of us, so we were giving each other that time slot to get whatever we needed to get out during the situation, and then we would come back. My brother, who's the youngest boy, he's more he's the millennial, right? So he had to show us, listen, everybody's gonna calm down. I'm the oldest, so of course I'm coming from the oldest standpoint, right? I know what we're supposed to be doing. I'm the coach and the other, being the big sister. Whereas we had to utilize him and say, you know what, let's try some methods. Let's try some different methods. So I say all that to say, I'm like Mr. Clements. I hope this it comes back. That safe space, we have to first understand, okay, we can get a safe space, but what does that safe space look like for you and that person? Because it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's not going to be able to go to counseling or coaching or whatnot. You may be able to find something on shows like your platform or YouTube or whatnot. So you have to find that safe space and what that looks like for you and that person that you're trying to communicate with.
Okay. Miss Neacy, what about you, ma'am?
So the safe space. I had to come from a point where I had to agree with Mr. Clements as well. The different backgrounds, and learning each other. So how I grew up was not the quiet. It wasn't quiet. It was definitely dysfunctional, And so, but I knew growing up, okay, this isn't the way to handle it. But that's how I grew up, learning, the behavior. So having to unlearn it to learn how to listen, because when me and my husband, when we have our disagreements, it's quiet, and we can come from a place of, talking, not arguing. Because I knew, for me, I knew what I didn't want. Even though I grew up in dysfunction, everything I tried to I guess fix, So if I didn't know how to, if I felt like I was yelling, screaming, however, let me go to counseling. Let me work this out. That way I can see a better way of communicating, And then I had to learn my husband's body language.
Yeah.
Is he in the mood to receive what I have to say? Because I don't come from the idea of, forcing people to talk. It doesn't work like that, So you do have to set up the environment where you want to check on the other person first. Instead of always busting in, hey, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I came from a point of, how are you today? You doing okay? Oh, it was okay. Okay, well, what was the best part of your day? And opening it up like that. So now you're comfortable having a conversation. And it's not me fussing, or him fussing, because I'm like Mr. Clements' wife, like that clap back is something else, It's something else, and I say it with a smile, but but just learning that. And like Tashawn said, now they're growing, but it takes time, getting people on the same page. Cause I'm working on the same thing with a text message. Cause I'm probably not gonna call you on the phone.
Yeah.
We could probably work this up. Texting, how you doing? So that is it.
So dialogue, taking part in a conversation or a discussion to resolve a problem, pretty much can kind of create safe spaces, not arguing. And that's something that me and my wife at the very beginning of our relationship was like, hey, listen, pet peeve, I'm not going to argue with you. My wife shuts down, and I just don't feel the need to have to yell over you. So yeah, we have to find some form of ground to where we can just talk and discuss what's going on, regardless of how hard it is. And we've been able to do that, and I'm very proud of us with that. And I tell my kids and even her kids that this is something that I want to show that it is okay, you know, and it's a situation that happened earlier today, and explaining our daughter, hey, it's okay for you to be mad, you know, it's fine, but we need you to understand why you should be mad and why you should be mad at yourself for the decision, you know, that you made, not to beat yourself up, but you know, it's something that's been we've tried to tell you, stop, 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 and you keep going. So now you got this outcome and you just have to take responsibility of that. So we have Mr. Johnny Prince said, we won't know how to effectively communicate with each other until we heal. And there's a lot of that non-healing going on in our community. But as we go to this, oh, look at this thing here, acting crazy. All right, there you go. All right, this next one, number 2, addressing culture influences and stereotype. Deshaun, when it comes to our dialogue between us males and females, what culture influences do you think causes a barrier between the two?
What cultural barriers?
What culture influences causes a barrier? Like,
I really couldn't. I don't know. I was just say that it's just we just have to understand what the two are, listening versus hearing, and what we're trying to convey. You know, like I said earlier, hearing is easier for most of us. You know, listening takes that effort. And so a lot of times we're ready to answer, we're hearing with the, uh ready to jump into the question, to the answer with the answer, and not hearing, listening throughout. And so I think the stereotype, I think between men and women, we do talk a lot, right? We do talk a lot. I'm one. I will talk, talk, talk. Chef is quiet, and we have that communication piece because it's like I'm trying to get what I want out, right? And he's just like, I hear you, and I'm like, but you're not listening to me or whatnot. So, and then that creates some intense moments of fellowship, right? Because I'm just like, you're not listening to me, you don't hear me. And he was like, I heard you. But what I'm learning, I don't know who said it earlier, but the love languages, you really have to understand that love language of each person. I think that would help. And many times we haven't, and that's something new to most couples and most relationships, right? The love language. But I think once we learn the love language of each other, then it will help with the communication. Again, I'm a talker, even though I'm quiet, but I talk more than Chef. So for him, he hears me, he hears that one, right? Okay, that's
Charlie
it.
Brown.
That's it. And and sometimes, and I'll be like, "Oh, you didn't hear me?" He's like, "I heard everything you said." I'm like, "But what did I say?" Then I start going into the quizzing mode. Well, what did I say? Then it turns into something totally different, right? So I think it's just the understanding of who's trying to say what message are we trying to convey towards each other. And also as a woman, and I'm guilty of this, it's like the urgency in our communication. For me, there is an urgency sometimes, and that comes with a lot of other stuff that I had to deal with or do. And being an educator, it's like, I need an answer now. I need, I'm on this time constraint or whatever, not understanding that some conversations just need to take time to marinate. But for me, it's like, I asked you about 5.7 seconds ago, and you ain't gave me an answer. And so, I get upset or whatnot. So I think the stereotypical, the culture, the women do have a different channel when it comes to answering, listening, and hearing, the communication piece.
Okay. And Mr. Clements, what about you?
Well, from a cultural standpoint, I was thinking in terms of house training. Not potty training, but house training. What I mean by that. See, it's one of those things, is that whatever you saw your mama do to your daddy has also an effect on you, on how you behave with you and your baby daddy, or whatever the case may be. But it's just one of those things. Is there's an old adage that talks about monkey see, monkey do. Seeing is believing. I'm gonna say it again. Seeing is believing. No matter whether it's right, no matter whether it's wrong, seeing is believing. That's how come we have to be so careful of what we show our children in terms of how we communicate with each other. I'm just giving you a history and point in case. There was a dog, a mama dog, and she got hit by a car, and her two hind legs was paralyzed. So the only thing she could do is just walk and get around with her two front legs. Well, the mama dog also had children, puppies. The puppies were well able, regular puppies, and so forth and so forth. But because all of a sudden they start doing the same thing their mama did. Now, the muscles intact, everything, nervous system, all that was intact. But because they saw their mama do it, they thought that's just how it is. So it's just like hurt people. And it is an ignorant thing. So, people say, well, why your mama talk to, why your daddy talk? So you just like your daddy. Well, guess what? And guess what? When your grandmama have said that, you just like your daddy. Guess what? It passed on to the daughter because she saw that. So when she get her boyfriend, you know what? You just like your daddy, just as hard-headed, just not realizing you are participating in the curse of demeaning your spouse, whether it be a man or a woman. That's how come we need to take advantage of being educated, to know how to, just like me, I read stuff and material to know how to better communicate with my wife. Because I know it ain't going to come from the Lord. It's going to come from the Lord who put it in man, who put it in books, or woman for that matter. I'm not going to be a chauvinist, but I'm just saying. But if you want to expand your relationship, use what I call OPE, other people's experiences. Use their other people's experience. It's called shortcut. You don't have to try to wing it. Just read what other successful people do, and you will start having what other successful people have. So, that was just my little take on that in terms of the culture, is just knowing that. And just one more little thing, is just a little scientific base. I had a person who was married for like 30 years, and she was talking to me about, some counseling. She said, I'm trying to get my husband to take out the trash. And she said, what do you do? I said, this is what you do at first, and understand that men are physical visual learners. They're kinesthetic visual learners. Women largely are auditory visual learners. So if you keep on telling him and you keep explaining it to him, and you just guess what? You're trying to appease to the learning style, which is your own. But his is a physical visual learner. So I told her this. I said, this is what you do. Here's the love language. I said, this is what you do. Rub his chest. Rub his chest. I said, oh, Shaka Zulu. He talking about anyway, I said, rub his chest. And I said, then I want you to grab your hand around his waist, pull him along the side where the trash can is. And I want you to look at him, make the eye contact. I said, I want you to say these words, baby. The trash. I said, before you can say can, he about to knock himself over trying to get to that trash can, trying to do it. Why? Because you minister to the way he learns and how he gets it. And sometimes men don't get it because you don't match their learning style. And she said, well, do I have to do this every time? Do I have to do this every day? I married my husband, not my son. That was her thing. And I asked her this question: do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? Because if you want to be right, you're going to be unhappy. But if you're going to be effective, you're going to be happy. She said, well, I said, let's change the mindset. Let's not make it a chore. Let's make it a chance to romance. Oh, show.
Oh, okay.
I said, don't let it be. I said, listen,
you put call chef in that, bro.
I said, don't make it a chore, because if you make it a chore, y'all gonna fight. But if you make it a chance to romance, so y'all just date at the trash can.
You go get this trash.
And then 2 weeks later, I asked her how things were going. She said it works like a charm. And she said, why? I said, because there are nerves in a man's chest that will make them docile. Ooh, I'm not supposed to tell anybody that. Shh, this is between us. But if you want a man to just basically almost do whatever, and within reason now, don't tell him to jump off the Empire State Building. But I'm just saying within reason. But if that's something you want, rub his chest like this. Men are like alligators. The way you conquer an alligator, first you got to close his mouth, flip that bad boy over, rub his chest for about 30 seconds or something like that. And who's going to do that? But I'm just saying, this is by Steve Irwin, the alligator man. But he said, close his mouth, rub his chest. And when you rub his chest, the alligator will become sleep. So
30 seconds, you said. You said 30 seconds.
I think it's 30 seconds, yeah.
Okay, all right.
30 seconds. And rub his chest, because there are nerves in his chest that will release the endorphins that will make him more receptive to whatever you have to ask him for. And then he's like, what you doing? Hey, baby, what you doing? What you doing? You're breaking them down. Listen, don't get this secret out, but I'm just saying. So that's how you break that cultural thing, is by being informed how the man works. And guess what? Men, you need to do the same thing. How does the woman work? But I don't want to take up, I'm just saying.
Neacy, before you say something.
I took my notes. 30 seconds, rub chest.
Baby, I don't want to take the trash out no more.
But yeah. And here's the thing, and women really don't want to do that because they feel like, I'm not trying to be your maid. See the communication? I don't want to be your maid. But here's the thing: happy spouse, happy house.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you want your house to be happy, and then here's the thing: it just can't be just one way. I'm just giving a way. Okay, because I'm talking about women too, but because of the time frame that we have, it won't allow me to go into that. But I just gave one example of how it really works. And just like my wife, you know what? My wife, she's a visual and auditory, because she likes to talk. She loves to talk, y'all. Y'all get along real good. Anyway, but what she wants to hear is, baby, you know what? My mind is tired, because you've been running through it all day long. Baby, I thank you so much. You know what? You have helped the kids out. You know what? You have shaved some hundreds of dollars in our bills. I mean, she know how to whippersnap and get that bill paid and stuff. She know how to make $1 stretch and say, ouch. And then I compliment her. And then I surprise her. But anyway, those are just some things that I just wanted to share. But anyway. Janice, I want to hear from you, love.
Go ahead, Niece.
That was good. Look, that was good. Look, I was gonna say, I already do that. Look, I look them right in the eyes, because it works every time. Every time. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. He's like, you good. You good.
Well, where did I miss this lesson?
Yeah.
Look, I read it in a book.
I missed this lesson.
I read it in a book.
See,
self-improvement. I'm always trying to self-improve. So I'm always reading something, trying to learn about something. So I just tried it. And I look him in his eyes, It's like, babe, it'd be so nice. I was like, can you please help me with this laundry? All right. I'm here for We'll fold I hate doing laundry.
Right.
But I know when you get done, I'm like, I love you. So then I give him a pet name, you know.
Right.
Rub his shoulders, the back of that neck. Huh?
No, I just say, hey, Pookie, come here. Don't do it that way, people. Don't do it that way. Come up here. I got these corns on me. I got this, this hang toenail. But anyway, I had my medication, y'all. I'm sorry. I ain't had no medication. I got it right here. I'm finna drink something.
I agree though. But when it comes to I think addressing cultural influences, media has a lot to do with it. Media has so much to do with cultural influences and stereotypes. And I feel like everybody is just like you and I. Just like you and I, we all have our idea on what we think is right.
Right.
Everybody got their idea, but we grew up differently. So, like you said, you have women learning from other women. So, if you got a whole bunch of hell raisers, what you gonna do? If grandma was a hell raiser, mama was a hell raiser, your sister was a hell raiser, the teacher was a hell raiser, and those are the women that you're seeing on a daily basis. That's normal.
Right.
If you see them, degrading the man, you think it's normal.
Right.
You see, I was a little bit different. If it didn't feel right to me internally, I didn't want to do it. I knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
But if once you start with the immediate family, then you're off to school. Now you're looking at those women. Oh, okay. So I need to care about this lipstick. I need to care about a little part of my belly button showing. I need to care about all of these things. So that's what you're learning. All of a sudden, what the hell raisers was telling you, oh, no, that's not how you do it. Now I'm cute. I dress it up in a bow, but I'm still a hell raiser though. Right. So, and then even with the social media, seeing the, how men talk to women. So now it makes it almost acceptable, So I think since I choose what I want to take in internally, so I know I'm not trying to raise no hell because I don't like the way it feels.
Right.
I know I'm not gonna let you talk to me crazy because I don't like the way it makes me feel. And learning, even that, because I think you have to learn self before you can even try to have the dialogue with the male if you don't even understand yourself.
I remember. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I remember piggybacking off what you said. I remember my grandparents on my mother's side, they got divorced early in their marriage. I want to say probably after 7 or 10 years, but I remember both of them rest in peace, my dear and granddaddy. But I remember my granddaddy. I asked, I said, "Granddaddy, why you leave my dear?" He said, "Cause she was nagger." And I said, "You real?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "Your grandmama nagged me to death." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then I started looking at the women, as Mr. Clements said, it was I wouldn't say it was a habit that was formed because Medea was a nagger, right? And I started looking at the women in the family, and I had become a nagger. In my first marriage, I had become a nagger, and the Bible talks about a nagger, right? And I was like, oh, but this was what I had learned because, again, my grandmother, because she was independent, she was all of these things, but she also was that nagger, right? And my granddad, he said, "Yeah, your grandmama was good." I'm just saying what you was nagging me, and I was like, I said, and then so in my grandmother's defense, she would be like, "Well, because Cornelius didn't do such and such or whatever, wouldn't do this and do that." And I was thinking over time, I said he probably would have done it if the language was different, And so I, in turn, started researching that the women in my family, and the women on my mother's side of the family, they were all strong. They were pretty much like the leaders, and they were verbal with it, whereas the men were very quiet meaning they were not weak or whatnot, but they were just like, okay, I know what I need to do, but here we go. Da, 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 da. So as I got older and after my first divorce, I was telling my sister, I said, you know what? We are naggers. And it was funny because I was talking to other female cousins and we all agreed. They were like, you know what? Because their husbands had told them the same thing. I was just the only one that had gotten divorced at that time. Okay. And then I started to realize, I said, oh, you know what? This is a habit that I need to work on for myself. As Janice said, we have to understand and work on ourselves, because in order for me to rectify the situation before I remarried, I knew I had to make peace with that. And I had to learn how to, hey, let me stop nagging. I don't want to go into the second marriage nagging. So I had to work on that.
Right. And I definitely feel like since men are more physical, you know, like how you say they learn by doing. So what I would do is I started I just get quiet. I just get quiet because I found that helps. If they have a chance to really sit down and think about it without a reaction, I found that a lot of times they figure it out on their own without us having to say, because most of the time they're not listening. Because there's been plenty of times where I'd be like, honey, did you check that light bulb? He's like, oh, I love you too. I'm like, wait a minute. That is not what I said. I said, did you? Oh, you seen I was doing something. But I've learned that sometimes I'll say something and I'll be quiet. He heard exactly what I said. So I don't have to keep doing that, you know, over and over again. Because it's annoying to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's annoying to me. If you keep repeating yourself over and over again, it reminds me of a toddler. They don't quit. They just go on and on and on. And you be like, oh my God, please stop. So I can only imagine. So I try not to do that, you know, just let them. And most of the time they'll come around. Yeah. They'll come around.
Well, we do have some comments. Johnny Prince says, like you were saying, Neacy, with social media, and that was something I was going to hit on, that our music language that we have started to intake as a awful dialogue as well. Wifey says, intense moments of fellowship.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Ms. Wright says, most listen to defend rather than listening to learn. It allows one to create a scenario in their mind based on assumptions.
Agreed.
And Tashawn added, house training. That is it, Mr. Clements. House training. Wifey also, culturally, we are told to do as I say and not as I do. And we have trouble separating when we see from what we should do, especially if we know that it is negative or bad behavior in communication. So a lot of people are taking notes, guys. And Johnny Prince says, I need a wife to find these nerves in my chest.
She is coming.
And you know, and I'm going to also say this, you know, even in that respect, finding a woman who would find these nerves in my chest. But here's the thing. I would encourage everybody to read about relationships.
Right.
That is the most important thing. I wish I had known more about marriage than just having a Bible. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the Bible is wrong. I'm just saying when it comes to relationships, you better read relationships books. Right. Yeah. The Bible gonna say the bed is undefiled, but it ain't gonna tell you what you need to do, what you need to say, what you need. Y'all feel me? We grown up in here. We grown up in here. But a lot of people say, well, you know, it's just me and Jesus. And I'm like, how you and Jesus? How the Lord and you are working? How's that working? Just you and Jesus, and that's why y'all alone. So, but here's the thing: in order for relationships to work, you got to work on your personal growth and development. And just like I was sharing, you can, I mean, Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus is a wonderful book. I always encourage anybody who wants to know about the other sex, be it man or woman. Y'all need to know about each other versus thinking like they the enemy and trying to demonize them. No, it's not because they're a demon. It's just that you are ignorant to the ways of learning and how to connect with them.
Right.
So that moves us on to the third, very well needed, empathy and understanding. And we've been hitting on the understanding before I brought this up. So, Neacy.
Yes.
Empathy and understanding. What is your point on that when it comes to having this form of dialogue between us and our community?
You know what? I chose to understand that everyone is just trying to figure it out. Okay. Like at different stages of life. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I had to explain that to my son. I do not know everything there is to know. I'm trying to figure it out in my 38-year-old self. You're trying to figure it out at 17. My husband's trying to figure it out at 45. Nobody has the recipe.
Right.
All we can do is try and educate ourselves on learning the opposite sex, because we're just trying to figure it out. There's so much that we can get from learning from other people. And like, I choose to surround myself with like-minded people, like people I aspire to be like. If I feel like they're a effective communicator, guess what? We're going to be friends. Because you have something that I admire and that I would like to partake in. And I may have something that maybe you want to be more empathetic. Maybe you want to be more loving. And guess what? That might be my specialty. And that's what I'm going to be able to give to you in the relationship. So I always aspire, I just surround myself with people that I aspire to be like. If I desire to be more assertive in my communication, guess what? Some of my friends are assertive and they say it so well. And I'd be like, God, they are a genius with this. Because I probably would have said a few choice words and made up something in my head that's not there.
Right.
And just like I said, we're just all learning. Like we're all learning, and if we just take the time out to listen, to understand instead of just waiting on a response, and I'm really looking into you. I'm really trying to hear what you're telling me. I'm not messing with my phone while you're talking to me, because there's a lot of people can't do two things at one time. And I find it rude, and I've had to check my own self. I've had to check myself when people are talking to me, and I'm like this. You just made a good point, and I'd have missed it completely because I'm trying to force myself to be a multitasker, and that's just not what it is, and just so trying to treat the other person how I would want to be treated. So if I want you to hear what I'm telling you, I want you to really listen to me and what I have to say. I have to do you the same way. I got to face you. I got to look in your eyes. I got to stroke your chest because I want to see what you have to tell me, because I really care.
Don't be trying that. Don't be trying that. The men.
Yeah. Look, but even with my guy friends, just really listening, because they're trying to figure it out too. They're strong, but not how the media puts it out.
Yep.
Like no feeling, no nothing. They supposed to be strong 24/7. No, they vulnerable too. So to sit up there and really listen and not being so judgmental on, dang, did he really cry? What's wrong with him? Oh my God, that's simp behavior. It's just like it puts out there, So that's it.
Mr. Clements, what about you?
Okay, give me the question again.
All right. The lovely question
'Cause
is
if I
empathy and understanding.
Okay, well, when I look at the word empathy, empathy is intimacy.
Okay.
Empathy is empathy. Empathy is intimacy. Intimacy means into me, you see.
Mm.
Intimacy means into me,
Me,
you
you
see.
see. Intimacy.
In other words, you have
Ah,
an active listening. You're not listening as what Janice talked about. You just waiting. I can't, you're doing a double dutch. I wait to get my point in. I know what you're
Mhm.
saying, but I got some more. They're gonna knock you off your feet, girl. Come on. What
Right.
you got? What you got? You're doing the double
Right.
dutch. But empathy is intimacy, meaning you are forgetting about yourself. But I am going to put my selfish desires, goals aside. So my ultimate goal is to be into you, you see, intimacy, you see. And here's the thing. And just like Janice said, we are all doing the best we can with
right.
the information that we have available right now. So that's why I thank God for you, Mr. Takeover, for pulling this platform together to give people the information that they seek and that they need, because people are struggling in the marriages not because of the enemy, not because of the devil. It is not the devil and it's not the enemy. Your enemy is your ignorance,
Right.
something you don't know. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to be empathetic. You don't know how to be intimacy. You don't know how to be intimate. And you think it's sex, men. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm just talking,
No, you're right.
but there is a mass of men that think intimacy is sex. And for women, intimacy is listening to me.
Yep.
Listening is caring about me and my day. What are my goals? Well, I have aspirations too. It's not all about you. I get it. I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm just saying empathy takes patience. Remember, like I said in my book, love is choosing to understand. It's a choice. You got to make a choice. Listen, I'm going to be the best husband. I'm going to tell you what this is my little secret. I went on Google. Have you heard of Google? I researched and I said, and I typed in 100 things that every wife wants to hear. And I hit it, boom, and then guess what? Men, type in 100 things that my wife would like to hear or love to hear. Boom. And then and you can just use it every single day or just wear it out. Sometimes my wife say, "You already said that already." I did. Then I act like no, I didn't know. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I ain't have my medical. Wait a minute, I ain't have my medication. I blame everything on medication. but those are just some strategies and some tools that you can use. You don't have to try to invent the wheel. Use the wheel that has already been created for your betterment and for your empowerment. So that's what we need. So I say, listen, y'all, use Google. How to be a better husband, how to be a better wife. Go on YouTube. How to be a better husband. How to make my wife just want to just be my queen. How can my husband be my? See, the information is out there, and I'm gonna tell you this: it's okay. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this with caution. If you want to experience what your mama experienced, do what she says. If you want something different and better, you got to outsource better resources other than your parents. Your parents only did what they could based on the information. And here's the thing, I guarantee you, they had not read not one book about relationships, but they've been told. They've been told, let no man, what God has put together, let no man put asunder.
Yep.
Well, guess what? They ain't read of how to not make a man come between us and put us asunder. They don't. It's not in the Bible. You got to research. You got to go there, and it's easy.
Right.
Google it. Boo. I'm sorry. Education time.
Well, what about you, Mr. Sean?
Just to piggyback, I again I always tell people, this is a lesson I had to learn after my first marriage. Everybody was not raised in the Joe and Carol Collier household. So that means the raising was different, the communication was going to be different. And so that has helped me over time to understand Chef and I were raised on two different sides of the world. You know, we were raised in two different households. Because in it, I had to keep reminding myself, the communication that him and his mom, the first time I heard him and his mom talk, I was like, you gonna get in trouble. Did you just raise your voice at your mama? Like, and didn't understand that was their relationship. I think the first time I heard them arguing with each other, right? And he was like, Ma, I forgot what they were arguing, but it was like, you know what? I don't feel like talking to him. Click. And I sat there, I was like, clutching my, I said, oh Lord, he done hung up on his mama. Oh Lord, oh Jesus, right? Next thing I know, she called back 5 minutes. What you doing? He was like, oh, I'm just cooking such and such a. And I'm like, I said, but you just hung up on your mama. And then so one of my girlfriends who had been married over 25, she said, you got to remember, their household, they had more communication. They had a different communication. Wasn't said it was right or wrong. In my eyes, it was wrong, right? Because I'm thinking this grown man talking back to his mama, you're going to get a whooping, or you're about to be on punishment, And then it dawned on me. I said, oh, their communication skill is totally different. So I tell people, your community, how you were raised, it was totally different from the person that you're going to partner with. Your wife or your husband is going to look different. So therefore you have to create the new for your household, because he can say, well, you know what, the kids, and we don't have any small children, but it's like, okay, so, well, my kids can talk to, like, I have cousins who call their parents by their first name, right? And these are in the same family, but I dare not call Joe and Carol by their first name, right? Now, my dad was cool. He knew if we would play, but my mama, if you call her Carol Ann, even now, because she's deceased, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm calling Carol Ann. I hope she don't hear me. So even with just that, so you have to create what you want. That's going to be that effective communication in your household. Because again, you come from two different worlds. And so when you mesh the two, with how you grew up, you have to come to that normal. You have to come to that norm and say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. Right. Something that me and Chef, we said that we didn't want to fuss and argue, but sometimes we do find ourselves fussing and arguing. And then I have to go back and remind myself, okay, wait a minute, what happened? Why did this turn into an argument versus a conversation? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, it's like, okay, let me take, as Janice said earlier, let me take a look at myself and let me see. I can't worry about him right now, but let me see what I didn't do or what I did, to bring in this argument or this communication. What was the trigger or something like that? But I do tell, like I said, I do share with people, make sure that you understand that both of you come from two different worlds, and your communication is going to look totally different from the way you grew up. So now you have to find that that commonality and say, hey, this is how we're going to handle this. This is how we're going to talk to each other. This is how we're going to communicate and so forth.
Yeah, I definitely like that. Again, like I said, when we first started talking, that's definitely, I was adamant. And I go back to emphasize on Mr. Clements. That's the first thing I did. I went to Google, I went to Amazon, started getting books. When I realized that we were serious, questions to ask before you get married, self-love books, how to the best way to treat your wife. So I did a lot of studying myself, and because my parents, again, they didn't give me that form of blueprint. They're roommates, and that's something that I told myself I would never put myself in a situation where my wife is sleeping in one room and I'm sleeping in the other room. Uh-uh. I want to touch my wife. I want to hold on to her. You know, I want to see her every day, every night. I want to go to sleep knowing that she's beside me, unless she just out on a trip at work or something like that. But definitely empathy and understanding. Um, I can say that we've had moments where she has allowed me to be quiet and go through my thoughts and then come and say, hey, all right, I need to talk. And she sits and she listens. And out of everyone I've dated, she has given me that space. And I am so happy and ecstatic that I have someone that wants to try and have that dialogue, but you know, that's not fussing or arguing or kicking and screaming. Um, this picture here says a lot because when him and her are not good at dialoguing with each other, when kids are involved, we just basically stated they learn more about what they see, what they hear, and they end up doing the same thing. So my question for you guys, to Sean, how does this miscommunication between the two affect the kids at home?
Oh, it affects them. I can use myself as a prime example. As again, my family, and I can say this dearly because both my parents are deceased now. But this is I ain't scared of y'all. No, my blood. But no, you know, I always say I use that as an example that my parents were not effective communicators. You know, growing up, my mom was a nagger, and my dad was a quiet person, and so they argued a lot. You know, and that was through contributing factors. They were both young. My parents were young parents, so they jumped from being teenagers to parents to parents, you know,
Okay.
all within their short, like the 20s, early 20s. So they never got a chance to be adults, you know what I'm saying? And so that meant, as Mr. Clements said, they didn't read any books about relationships and so forth. They went off of what both of their parents taught them. So the communication, it did affect me and my siblings. We didn't know how to communicate with each other. We saw the fuss and we heard the arguing, and we also said, okay, we understood, okay, wait a minute. Well, the argument meant, all right, somebody won, somebody unhappy or
Yeah.
whatnot. So we didn't know how. So guess what happened? As we started getting older, even though we tried to have our own ways of communicating, it was like it went back to that root. So until we found the root, until we, you know, were able to say, you know what, wait a minute, this is what we saw. And again, this doesn't negate the fact that your parents were bad or anything. They did what they learned how to do from their parents.
Yeah.
And it's always, and I always make sure to tell my clients or whatnot, I don't blame parents. You know, again, they did what they were taught to do. It's up to us, each generation, to learn, to read, to learn new ways, you know, and to say, hey, you know, I think I've heard now people are talking about the new way of parenting. I forgot what they call it now, new something parenting. And, you know, of course, some of the old schools are, you need to whip their butt or whatnot, you know, but it's like, that may not work for you, right? Hey, I'm a teacher, so I'm part of me, but like some of y'all need a butt whooping. I'm just saying.
Some of y'all, me.
You know, but that may not work for that child or whatnot. So again, the miscommunication that we grew up with, it did affect us, and it hurt us in a sense because we didn't know how to communicate with each other, and then our communication with other people, it was kind of we didn't have a middle ground. So it's either it also came along with a lot of anger issues.
Right.
So, they called it, we were like the quiet storm. Is either you gonna tick us off, we gonna, or we're gonna be happy and we be good. But that middle, we don't do. It's
Right.
like, oh. So, but again, I always believe that people, when you want something bad enough, when you want to change, and when you recognize that there is a problem, you're going to do better. You're going to find a way to do, like Mr. Clements said, Google, YouTube it. It's out there. How to communicate effectively for me and my family. And there are many, many, many ways, because let's be honest, everybody's not going to go to therapy.
Right.
I don't care if they offer for free. People are not going to go to therapy. They're not going to get a family coach or whatnot. Some people are just, and it's okay if that's what you choose, but you can Google it. And that's what me and my family did. We used our resources that were out there, and we all recognized, because the reason why we decided to do better is because we had the next generation of my nieces and nephews. And so our biggest thing was, we don't want my niece and nephews to grow up thinking this is the way you communicate. And it's working, because matter of fact, she sent a group text message last week. She said, I wanted to tell y'all, thank y'all so much. I love the way we've all been communicating.
Okay, cool.
And and of course we're jokesters too. We were like, yeah, whatever, we joke or whatever. But she recognized it. You know what I'm saying? And she said it. She said, I want to thank y'all for really trying. And she said, it warms my heart, and we're gonna all do better. Da, 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 da. And it just like we sat back and we were like, see, this is what it's all about.
Hey, Miss Neacy.
Okay, so I decided many moons ago. I think I had, oh goodness, my kids were really little, and I said, I decided my kids would not grow up in dysfunction. I decided that a long time ago, so my kids are always talking about, oh, it's so gross, when they see us, showing each other affection,
Right.
and giving each other a hug and stuff like that. And I always ask them, well, would you prefer us to fight? Because I feel like you can disagree agreeably,
Yes.
People be like, they're like, well, it's normal. Some people, it's normal to argue. I said, define normalcy. I said, because I remember hearing my parents argue. I ain't like that. It didn't make me feel good at all. I'm like,
Nope.
like, oh my God, y'all fight for real. That's traumatizing for a kid. We crying, y'all stop. I was like, my kids are not growing up like that. I don't like when people argue in front of people. I be like, y'all couldn't take that in the house, like a healthy dialogue, not for the world to see. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I felt like, seeing different people, like I said, I always surrounded myself as I got older with people I aspire to be like. So I might go and see Mr. Clements and his wife and see how they interact. And I'm like, oh, I like that.
Right.
I like that. Oh, I like that he's giving her little compliments. And I like how she looks, because I'm going to mimic that.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to read, I'm going to educate myself on it. So it definitely has an effect on how kids communicate. So I said, no, I just choose to teach my children that you can disagree with somebody without being disrespectful. Mm-hmm. You don't have to belittle the other person. You don't have to do any of those things. If it's not healthy for you, You can easily step away. You're not obligated to sit up there and argue and cuss out anybody.
You're right.
Right.
You know, you can choose not to. And we're going to have a healthy conversation. Yes, we are going to have a disagreement, but we can do it without the yelling and screaming.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I concur on that. Mr. Clements, what about you?
Yeah, on mute.
You mute yourself.
You know I love y'all, right? Y'all love me enough to tell me the truth. I can't hear you. But a soft answer turneth away wrath. A soft answer turneth away wrath. And what I've experienced, even with me, is that when things start to escalate, when I get quiet, she cannot stand it. It drives her off. She's like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. But it's just one of those things is that if both of us are arguing at a high level volume, you're not listening nor you're being empathetic.
Nope.
So sometimes I have to take the high road and take the low road. Basically, it's just saying, you know what, be quiet, I'm going to listen. That is the hardest thing to do. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's hard to listen. And that's how come we have to be trained. We have to be taught. We have to be coached to know how to listen without getting your feelings all bent out of shape.
Right.
That takes skill. But here's the thing, even though it may be difficult, but it can be done. My father and my mama, they argued a lot. I've seen a lot of that. It did not make me feel good. And at the same time, I said to myself, I want it to be better. But here's the thing. What you see is believing. And guess what? We have tendency to do the same thing what our parents have done. When we say we ain't going to do it. Why?
Yep.
Because we didn't know any better. So seeing is what? Believing. Yep. So until you see yourself in a different light, as a different person with a different circumstance, and you have a different mental vision of yourself in your life, then that's when your life will start to change for the better. I didn't know that. I just knew I want to get better. So that's my little take on that, is just make sure that whatever you see is something that you want to be. Whatever you see, make sure is that what you see? Is that what you want to be? Keep looking at it.
I definitely can get on all of that, what you guys said. And because again, I go back, I saw that. I come from a person watching my mom literally about to die to cancer, and only thing my dad could worry about is drinking. And so that bothered me, because here's this person that I know cares for me and has been caring for me, to watch another person that I want to care about not caring about the person that I definitely care about in a way that she should be cared about. That bothered and hurt me for years, until I was able to come to grips with knowing that, dang, I can't fault them in the sense of they raised me the best way they knew how, but now I can't sit and say, but you can change. And I can say one parent does try to change and listen and look into stuff, and then that one is just like, God will change me, but God can't change you if you ain't doing no work.
Right.
So, getting ready to end the show, guys. Changing the narrative. Neacy, what's one thing that we can do to better the dialogue between us Black men and women? Tricky question, huh?
Look, to better the dialogue, be open. Be open to know that you're not always right.
Right.
At least try to understand it from the other perspective. You know, don't be so quick to respond. Oh, look, you said one thing. Oh, look,
Look,
look. I was like, follow directions.
what about you?
I'm like Neacy, it's so much.
Give me
I
one
would
good one.
I would say repeat the question, changing the narrative.
Changing the narrative. What
Um,
can we do to better the dialogue between us men and women in the Black community?
I mean, just what you said, change the narrative. If you saw arguing and fussing growing up, change that narrative. What is it that you want? You know, what is it that you really want? If you want to continue arguing and fussing, then so be it. But if you don't, then you're gonna find a way to change that narrative.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Clements.
Well, also, my take is follow OPE, other people's experiences. You do that by reading books, going on YouTube, finding ways of how you and your partner can better their relationship. So, because here's the thing, your best thoughts got you where you are.
Right.
So you're going to need somebody else's thoughts or mentoring, if you will, who can aid you. Not necessarily have to pay money, but use resources that you have readily available at your fingertips so that you can shortcut the long cut of a hardship relationship. So yeah, OPE, other people's experience. Read and study.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Clements is not talking about toxicity when it comes to these other people's experiences, because we tend to go out and for some reason promote violence, or watch those shows that have nasty relationships. So with that, we do have some books that I've come across. One, I haven't gotten it yet, but I have my eye on it. This lovely book about truth speaks. Some real reason men and women don't communicate, by Miss Evelyn Whitney. The book that I really seriously, I don't think she's on tonight, but I still say she wrote this book about me and didn't tell nobody I need me a cut. But and then we have Mr. Hill Harper. This is a book that I've actually been trying to get myself, and need to get it out my Amazon thing. Go ahead and order it. The Conversation. I breezed over it a little bit in Books A Million, so I gotta get it. Then we have the lovely Miss Coach Trinette Collier, Woman on Fire. I do believe, unfortunately, my wife hasn't given me the book yet so that I can read, but I do know by snippets of her telling me that this is a possible, if not great book, to see how someone navigates herself through her relationships and has gotten to where she is now. And goes back to what Mr. Clements was saying, someone else's experience is a great tool on trying to navigate yourself through your relationships as well. And then we have the Clem notes from Mr. Anthony Clements. Another person that I'm starting to believe that I need a cut from, because he knew that I need to learn how to speak well when it comes to this form of dialogue, and he came across and threw this book at me that I lost and just found. So yeah, Mr. Clemens, I just want 5% of, because you're talking about me in this book. But and all in all, guys, I do think everyone that was on tonight, your point of view was great, and stemming off of the separation that society has caused between us, Black women and Black men, to now suffering and not wanting to, are constantly blaming slavery, white people, or not getting enough of this, or not having access to this, when some of that access is because you're not going out and getting it. And like Mr. Clements said, Google's free. Trust me. You can type a lot of stuff in Google. I do it every night. Google is some of the reason why I come up with some of the stuff that I come up with, or how I mesh some of my pictures together. And I want to leave you guys with one thing, definitely men. Something that I learned was knowing that your partner changes every day, every second, every minute, every hour. She is not the same, or he is not the same person due to current events, past life experience that just may end up being triggered by something you said, or something that you didn't do that they did not know that it was a trigger. So I pride myself on going to sleep and waking up trying to relove my wife, or not trying, but reloving my wife as a new person every day. And it's the best experience that I've had, because it allows me to love her deeper and deeper and deeper as we live together. So with that, guys, what do you have coming up here in this week, Mr. Sean? Before we end?
Of course, the mail room this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's every Saturday morning on 101TKORadio.com. As far as events, I don't have anything yet. I can't say just yet. It's in the making, but stay connected, and you can reach me at Linktree. That's linktr.ee/Trinette L. Collier for any events and so forth.
And that information is in the description, guys. What about you, Mr. Clements? What you got coming up this week?
Well, actually, I'm going to be talking about the 5 M's of success. I'm going to be talking about your mind, your mouth, your money, mental vision, and manifestation. The 5 M's of success. I'll be talking about that on Sunday at 2:00 p.m. That's Sunday. Did I say Sunday? Yes. I'm going to be talking about that.
What are we going to talk about it?
Say what now?
Where are you going to be?
It's going to be on Facebook.
Oh, okay. You're doing a live?
It's going to be Facebook Live. It's going to be a Facebook Live. And just teaching people about the 5 M's, help you to think right so you can speak right. Okay. And so that your money will be right, and so that you're going to have mental vision so you can see right, and the manifestation will also be right at your door.
Okay, I definitely have to put that
5
on my
M
calendar.
success. Oh, you don't want to miss it. I feel the Holy Goose. Shaka Khan. Shaka Zulu.
I am closing out my week. I am prepping to go on vacation. So I am wrapping up this week. I did add a couple of more slots to my schedule. That way I can get all the ladies and the men beach ready for spring break. So
awesome.
Yeah, so next week I'm closed.
Okay.
I'm gonna be in Jamaica. I'm gonna be in Jamaica.
Okay. Me and wife, you're looking into taking our first trip pretty soon. Also myself, I shall be on with Mr. Sean with 101 TKO Radio this upcoming Saturday. Can't wait to talk about money as well on our Saturday show. But again, guys, I totally appreciate it. Tashawn, I know the first part of this little 2-part series was a little heavy. But again, guys, and I'm definitely speaking to my Black men, we need to do more. And I'm not just talking about financially and so physically protecting. We're hurting emotionally, and our excuse is our parents, or I don't need help. That's the story. A lot of our kids are suffering because our emotional strength is not available for them to piggyback on. And so I just ask any and all Black men in your community, if you can touch a young man, if you can be that form of strength as a father figure to a young girl, do so, please, because they're in great need, and this world is not nice, definitely when it comes to us. And I appreciate you guys again, and I would love to say good night and tell you I love every single one of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Tashawn. Thank you, Janice. I've learned a lot. I took a lot of notes, so you'll be hearing some of your words. So, but I give you credit. I give you credit.
Thank you. I'm gonna be rubbing on Chef's chest tonight.
I say I'm taking a trash strike so I can get my chest rubbed on.
Right.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Many
Well, you
blessings.
guys have a great night again. Definitely hope to have you guys on again. Okay.
Good night,
Will do.
everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Let's stay connected.